Hi guys, welcome back. Until we get a proper intro, I'll be manually singing the intro. Hope you liked it. Welcome to the Learnalong. Still working on the hook. Anyway, so we are on episode 21. This is the stream where we are actively and painfully and in a very grueling fashion learning Swift by using this very nice book, Swift Programming, the Big Nerd Ranch Guide, 7th edition. Highly recommended. I did a long intro yesterday, so we're just going to keep it short. So make sure you follow along, sub, like, all that shit. And, yeah, stick around. So, yesterday, we learned about enumerations, additional uses of enumerations. No. The day before, okay, yeah, I was thinking we had 2 days. Yesterday was just a lot of information, I guess you could say, but so has this whole thing been entirely. So a bit of a moot point. However, just looking at the code, let's briefly review for my own sake. So that was all 2 days ago. What did we add exactly? Let's see if I remember some of these. That's where we left off. Yeah, so it was starting with this enum. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember now. So, yeah, a lot of it yesterday for me was, I don't know if it's OCD or not. I need to quit saying that. I'm not diagnosed or anything. People have told me you have OCD like tendencies for certain things. But anyway, I mentioned that because yesterday there's a lot of time spent on just trying to understand the word choice, I guess you could say, the language that was being told to us, because I think that's very important. A lot of times, big gaps in your understanding of things. I'm not saying you can still go out and go implement it, right? That's a different skill. That's partially, muscle memory, things of that nature. But to just grasp a concept, I think the biggest part of it is really, first and foremost, making sure you understand every word that you come across, and if you even have a thought that a single word, in terms of how it's being used in the context of a sentence, like for example, yesterday, when they were talking about associated values, right? What does that mean to associate something? What does it mean in the context of Swift? We all understand to some degree what associations are, and thus a different tense of the word associated, right? We get it. But what does it mean in terms of Swift? Well, for associated values, we learned that when they refer to associated values where's an example where we actually had, did we delete it? We actually had, there we go. Okay, so these are associated values. So to use it in terms of something we've already covered, like we know that anytime we see these parentheses, right, in a function, in a case statement like this or whatever, that it's a tuple, because tuples can hold anything. And so we know that inside the tuple, generally when we see this notation, so some word and then the colon, and it's even more obvious if there's a type annotation after the fact. Actually, I don't think we've seen anywhere other than switch statements like this syntax here where a colon is even used. So yeah, just seeing the colon should tell you, you're either in a case statement or it's a type annotation. And if you're in the confines of a tuple, like we are up here, then you almost know immediately it's a type annotation. And so on the left side, so in this case, side, the word side, or width, or height, these are all what we've come to understand are parameters when you define a function, right? Well, obviously this is not a function. This is a case statement inside of an enum. So in that context, inside of an enum with a case statement, these are what they're referring to as associated values. Well, see, even that's not specific enough. This is where you define them, the type of them. The actual associated values that's being referred to are when you actually use, so down here on this 116, 117, 118, when you actually pass, so here's side again, right? Side, and then side up here. It takes a double, right? So down here, when we use it, we're passing the side parameter this argument of 10.0, which is a double. But to be even more specific, the associated values are referring to the values that you pass in, the 10.0, the 5.0 right below it, the 10.0 over here for height. These are the associated values, not the parameters themselves. Okay, so just clear that up, because I needed to understand that personally. So now we understand that. So that's what those are. That's what associated values are. So we learned that not only can you, like in this case, if we go back up to this example, the enum light bulb, if we wanted to associate a method call with this enum type, then you just simply do it like this, like as though you were writing a function, but the functions, well, the entirety of the function is defined inside the scope of the enum. So the enum starts, at 59, and we end on, wait, where's my highlighting, brother? Oh, I'm not on insert mode, that's why. Okay. Yeah, so it starts on 59, ends on line 83, and obviously that encompasses or encapsulates the function surface temperature, and also this mutating, which is another thing we learned. If you do define a method call and you want to use the self reference, so it's just a way to literally refer to the thing that, like if you wanted to run an operation or apply a side effect on the thing that you're working on and not some other variable, you want it to do it on the variable that you're calling the method on, then you can use this self call. But we learned also that if you're going to do that, you have to put that mutating. Otherwise, Swift by default, it's going to be immutable. Yeah, immutable. Okay, so we learned all that jazz and whatnot. We learned about toggle, which is cool. It just flips the Boolean operator. So on to off, off to on, true to false, false to true. What else did we learn? There's one more thing I wanted to show that I thought was pretty neat. Oh yeah, it was here. Okay, so just so we understand the context of how things are passed around and how associations work, kind of going back to that, I think it was maybe 2-3 streams ago at this point when we talked a little more deeply, learned a little more deeply about scope. Same concept, so that carries over. So in this case, check out the enum, right? Light bulb, right? So we define it, and this is the enum, and it's in its entirety here. Okay. So these functions, surface temperature, toggle, those are methods on the light bulb enum. If we come down here where we define this mutable variable bulb, right? We call the enum dot on. And then we say another variable, bulb temperature, is equal to bulb, so the thing that we just defined up here. But we're able to do the dot notation and then call the method surface temperature, which is not directly associated with the variable bulb. This is just something we defined up here. But because bulb is equal to a case inside the light bulb enum, then the access to func surface temperature, since it's in the same scope, is also made available to the variable bulb. So now we see, you see what I'm saying? Is that making sense? I hope that makes sense, because it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So kind of like well, I guess that is just straight up inheritance. Except, well, inheritance, but in a good way. Like you're passing, or you're giving the ability to have access to the methods in the enum, but you're not forcing some kind of attributes or properties upon it. So like in other situations where you hear about inheritance, that's kind of the issue there. That just inherently certain attributes or properties are going to affect a variable if it has that association. So I like this better. It's cleaner. That's probably not the right word, so just forget about that whole inheritance thing I said, but you get what I'm saying. The fact is, you're allowed to call methods even if there's no direct association with the variable that you're calling it on, because when the variable that you're calling it on was first defined, it is inferred because it knows that the dot on is a valid case, and then it gives you access to the methods inside that enum. Okay. All right. So I think that, let's see what else was down here. That got us through for that one. And then let's see, enum, shape dimensions, case point. Yeah, we looked at associated values. We talked about that. Func area. Return double, switch self, case point. God dang. Yeah, brother. All right, we did that. That's fine. Yeah, I guess yeah, that's fine. That pretty well marries it up. Okay, so then now, let's get down to brass tacks. Get back to where we were. So we did this. We did the area, bronze, challenge, silver, recursive. We looked through family tree, using indirect. Oh, yeah. That was interesting. But no doubt, I mean, when we eventually build this stuff out, it's going to be very application specific, especially something like this. So we'll just go ahead and move on to structs and classes, even though that's very exciting stuff, and probably likely will be the bulk of the code that I write, at least for the initial application that I've been telling you guys about. So no worries, we will get plenty of practice with enums and everything that we just covered. So then, chapter 15. Man, we're grooving now. Chapter 15. Oh, Jared, we said we would get these out edited by episode 20. We didn't. Well, okay, you're right. Yeah, I said that. But you're supposed to be doing it anyway. You know what, brother? We'll talk about it after. All right. So anyway, look, I just thought about that very quickly. Yeah, so we will get these streams edited. It'll be a little rough, but just chopping out all my blabber, and just that way on YouTube there can be playlists of just the like either me reading the book to you or us actually actively working on the screen, and then everything else we'll just try to chop out. Yeah, so that's still going to happen, but my bad, because we're now an episode late. It always seems like you have so much time, and then where does it all go? All right, so anyway, structs and classes. You learned that an enum can be a powerful way to model custom data, such as the state of a light bulb. Yep. Using associated values, you're able to attach some arbitrary data to your enum cases, which made them even more flexible for data modeling. Indeed. But while enums are great for representing a singular value with some associated contextual data, they are not designed for modeling large or complex systems. Oh boy. Oh boy. For that, use a structure commonly just called a struct or a class. So those are two different things in Swift. Is that what we're saying? Because as I've told you guys a few times, I do have experience writing Golang, backend stuff, AWS type stuff, data transformations, ingest, transform, upload, render this, render that, that kind of a thing. ETL type stuff, from Access to Parquet files, back to MySQL, all that cool stuff. Now, Go did have structs. They're very basic, but structs were very cool and very useful, even though they're basic, because they were almost just like a create table statement in SQL. You just have like the thing and then the data type, the thing and then the data type thing, and then so it's great. You could just mirror your SQL schema effectively in Go, and then there's your type safety. Pretty legit. But yeah, so let's see. I'm hoping it's not too, it's not too complicated here, because to me, now you'll hear differing opinions on this, but as a person that loves SQL, and frankly, comparatively, SQL compared to like Swift or even Go, there are certain things that do require very deep knowledge when you're talking about SQL. But the big part about SQL and the level of, I'll say, I guess the scariness level or the approachability kind of scariness aspect of it is the fact that you're dealing directly with the data. So clearly you don't want to go in there and do something if you don't know what you're doing, because you're dealing with people's data, oftentimes not your data, somebody else's SQL data. So in that sense, yeah, it's very important to know what you're doing. But frankly speaking, from a learning perspective, like just the amount of material and the amount of time it would take, barring real life experience, I'm just saying, to sit down and learn something and go through, set up your own environment, carry out examples, disaster recovery, learning to do backups and restores, how to truncate the log or how to recover a log, how to, all that kind of stuff that you would really need to learn to call yourself, a functional DBA, a database administrator. Even though that role is kind of getting sucked into DevOps these days or whatever. It doesn't really matter. The point is, even with all that stuff, SQL is a pretty simple discipline to learn comparatively. When you talk about like what we're looking at now, like with Swift, this does like a million things. So I say all that to say, a lot of the stuff that I see, it's just interesting because I came from SQL first and then Golang and now here, and JavaScript too, but I don't really count that because it's JavaScript. Everybody's got to learn it. Even project managers, no, I'm kidding, but it's hard to escape. But anyway, it gets rolled in there too, and frankly, it's a lot like Swift, so I kind of put them in the same bucket thus far. But it writes like Swift. It's not type safe, obviously. Don't get your panties in a bunch. But yeah, the thing is, what I see is the market, or I don't know what you want to call it, the ecosystem. There seems to be like this overarching fear or hesitancy to just write SQL. And instead what you come across is like all these very abstract, giant ass ORMs and frameworks. And people go through a lot of trouble to not write SQL. And instead they do it, in their language through some implementation or a framework or ORM, like I said. And it's not, you're not able to get the same expressiveness. And it's like the time it took to learn that framework, you could have just learned SQL. And then that travels anywhere with you, as opposed to learning some framework or something along those lines. So anyway, my point is that, just as a quick aside, if you're able to teach yourself a programming language, like even JavaScript, take the time to just learn SQL, because you just save yourself a lot of heartache. But yeah, that's actually one of the things that attracted me to Swift. I saw that they had, I forget what it's called, but it's a library in the it's not in the standard library, but there was a little note on the release notes that it was being considered and probably will get rolled in. But anyway, it was just a very logical, simple way to pass raw SQL. Okay, you can still sanitize it, it's still safe. But if you know SQL, you can just pass it in, and you don't have to fuck with Swift's implementation. You can just write SQL. And that's, to me, that's always going to be a better deal. So it's going to be the better option. Because then you can keep all of your logic, your data logic that you're doing, for the most part, in stored procedures or something along those lines. Then you don't have to necessarily, if you can take all that logic pertaining to your data, any kind of queries or inserts, your updates, your migrations, stuff like that. If you can keep that in stored procedures in SQL, now your rewrites for your program are so much simpler, and you can really separate. You can just really have a nice separation there. So you're not moving heaven and earth if you ever have to broach the topic of a rewrite or even just a large refactor, something like that. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, that's my pitch to you. Just learn SQL. But yeah, best case scenario, I think the programming language, because SQL is always going to be there. As long as you're using SQL databases, even NoSQL is SQL now. They're so similar now, it's kind of silly to call it that, but I know that term came out a long time ago. But ask any person that's ever used MongoDB, you eventually want relational data. People just do the wildest stuff to not have to plan things, I guess. I don't know. There's so much sacrifice, though, in terms of performance, efficiency. It's no wonder a lot of the apps work the way that they do now, which is shitty when you're looking at a lot of these web apps. But anyway, I digress. So let's get back to it. So for that, you use a structure, more commonly called just a structure or class. These types are syntactically similar, which is why we will introduce them together. Okay, so they are in fact different. Over the next several chapters, you will learn about the important similarities, differences, and uses for these types. God dang it, I gotta pee. Hold on one sec. Jared, we gotta get that freaking BRB bathroom. Yeah, but this, if anyone were ever to join and watch these, they would quickly leave because, I don't know, guys, my digestive tract is just active at this time of the day. I don't know what to tell you. I'll tell you, brother. I'll be right back. God damn. God dang. Let me just scoot up here. All right. Jerry, you good? Yeah? Okay. Fix the old headset there. Okay, let's do it. Okay. All right, where were we? Let me first shrink that back to a reasonable size right there. Back to a reasonable size. Structs and classes. For that, use struct. Okay, we call that. Okay, we read all that. All right, a new project. Oh, an actual real. A for real one. Okay. We're moving up, guys. This is not a game anymore. Actual project. Okay, in Xcode, click new. I'll click file, new project. Okay. Project template. Damn it, I can't see. Next, you will select a project template. A template formats your project with a number of presets and configurations common to a given style of application. Along the top of the window, notice there are several options. Multi-platform, iOS, macOS, watchOS, tvOS, and others. Select macOS. In the app area of the window, choose command line tool template, click next. Oh, hell yeah, brother. That's actually nice because one of the things that you will, like if you ever go on a little, wait, select macOS. Yeah. I can't do two things at once. Let me do this real quick. Command line tool. I did that. Yeah, brother. What you want me to name it? The template will create a very basic thingamabob. Next, you will choose in the product name field, enter Monster Town. Oh yeah, brother. And what? Enter Big Nerd Ranch or whatever you would like for the project's organization identifier. What? No, brother. Okay, and then the app bundle identifier. That's fine. Do not worry about the team item or adding an account. Features used for. Okay, select Swift. What else can you? Oh, Objective C. You can have. Well, hold on. You can have C projects in this. That's cool. I didn't know that. We'll have to. Just by the way, we will at some point when we find a good. Maybe when the projects start for Swift, we'll do a quick, maybe like a 1 or 2 day stream. Well, a stream or two dedicated to learning some basic C, because you just should know C. And oftentimes, like almost always, any language, I would say more often than not, any language you choose is going to have a way to wrap C functions or call into C code and execute it. So it's very handy to do because C's been around a long time, and there's a great many libraries and tools that if you just go looking for them and you really have an app idea you want to put together, like I do, you can save a ton of time by just doing a little bit of research and then, pulling in those libraries and calling those C functions, especially, for stuff like, stuff you wouldn't want to rewrite, like SSL and shit like that, so there's a lot of different reasons why you might want to tap into, what's it asking me here? Folder shared, source control, big nerd. Shit, I guess, brother. Okay. But yeah. So we'll do at least 1 or 2 little projects where we do that with Swift and call into C, and then we'll learn some C syntax. But honestly, I mean, compared to what we've learned so far in Swift, I mean, C is so damn easy. It's very readable. It's a good thing. Now, writing a lot of C and implementing big programs in is a whole other level of difficulty. But just reading C code, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, now you will choose options for your project. Yeah, Monster, we did that. Yeah. Click. Okay, now what? Name the project. You can ignore. Okay, good, because I didn't see any of that stuff. Your project opens in Xcode with the project file selected as shown in 15.4. This file allows you to manage various, what are they? Oh, okay. 15.4. So this thing. Okay. Oh, but I was going to say, yeah, this is great because if you go quote unquote program language shopping like I did, one of the first things you'll realize is they're not all created. I mean, this sounds silly to say, but they're not all created equally, but I don't mean that in the obvious sense, like, duh, they're all different. That's why they're different programming languages. But the tooling can be just completely non-existent, which is a pretty big killer. You can have some great languages. Like I put OCaml, even though OCaml has, I'll probably get flamed for saying that, but just comparatively, it's getting better. But the OCaml tools, they don't have a dedicated IDE. There's no OCaml IDE. There's an LSP, which is nice, and it's great, and it works. And there's UTOP or HTOP, which is like a REPL, but it's not like this. But even that, honestly, is better than a lot of other like I would say. I would even put Go in that kind of category, even though Go has some nice tooling around it. It has no dedicated IDE either. There's very few languages have that. So, I mean, I shouldn't say that as though that's like a major drawback. Really, if a language has an LSP in good condition, then I would say then it's modern. Okay, you're good. You can pretty much do what you need to do. Everything else is kind of just fancy fluff, with the exception of JavaScript and or any web framework, JavaScript framework that you use. Those you have an expectation that they should be able to allow for very quick iterative visual style editing, with hot code reloading and all that stuff. And it's there. The fact is it's there for like the well-supported frameworks. Swift also has it. The only Swift has it through Xcode, obviously, that kind of iterative visual style. I guess you could kind of argue that Python kind of has it, but Python's dog shit. So, I mean, whatever. It doesn't really matter. If you're going to do anything fast in Python, you're calling into C to do it. So it's a moot point. Who would use that voluntarily? But my point is that don't make the assumption that investing your time will always have a equal kind of output. Make sure you look at the ecosystem too. Make sure that, you don't need every fancy thing, but make sure there's support there so you can realistically just, get to work once you know the programming language. Otherwise, you spend a lot of time fighting tools and compatibility issues, blah, blah, blah. So be leery of that, although it's nice to be bold and to branch out. You learn a lot that way. And if anything, it just teaches you how to appreciate what you already got. So, yeah. So last Xcode, ask where to save the project. Okay, we did that. Yeah, we did that. Opens Xcode. This file allows you to manage various settings for your application. For example, you can sign your application for deployment, link to frameworks to use in your development. Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, right there. Wow. I love this kind of stuff. This stuff is cool. I spend way too much money on just tools, like random tools. Can just kind of think they're interesting, but yeah, this is very nice. This is probably, I don't know, it's top tier. This is like IntelliJ Java level type integration, which you would expect, which is awesome. So that's great. I'd never seen this. That's the first time I've seen it. Okay, now what? Organization of Xcode. So we have Wait, so this... What? Oh, so they're both Xcode, but I want to close this. Close. All right. Okay, so toggle navigator here. Here. Okay, left bar makes sense. I assume if I do control 1 is recent files. Control 0 should close it. No, does not. Dang, I was hoping it was like Sublime. Okay, well, we'll learn the shortcuts here in a sec. So toggle navigator, build and run. So this is what I was talking about, the quick iteration. So that's nice. Just, I mean, that's just nice, period, honestly. Reminds me of Replit. You guys ever use that service? It's a pretty fun little thing, but don't build apps on it. Trust me. The pain, building. Okay, toolbar. Yep, top mid. So this is the toolbar, which oh, it is interactive. I just got to click on an actual element. Okay, toolbar. Show library, the plus sign. Show library. Not what I expected that it would do, but okay. Command W doesn't close it. Okay, that's great. Toggle inspector, top right. Inspector. Yeah, I like these little sidebars. Are awesome. Like context sensitive sidebars, just showing you whatever. I love this kind of style, at least for desktop stuff in editors, because you know, like if you're editing HTML, if you ever use the editor like that or CSS, you click the element, and then on the right hand side it just shows you all the stuff you can edit that you normally would be writing, you know, manually in code. It's cool. Nice solid implementation. Don't have to reinvent the wheel. Okay, so bottom left down here, navigator, variable view. I don't have that. I gotta click it. There we go, variable view. This is extremely useful for debugging. Being able to see each little snippet and how it actually translates or how it evaluates. Really and truly, this is huge. Like I would take this over being able to, like, even hot code reloading, even though hot code reloading is like ooh, like, you know, it demos well, but is it really so bad to, you know, command tab to the terminal and then just execute your code again to see? Maybe I'm wrong. The pane on the far left is the navigation area. Oh, it's just telling us what. Okay, inspector. Yeah. Okay, in the project navigator from the far left, click on the main Swift file to open it in the editor area. Okay. Ooh, I like that a lot. All right, so we click the file, it opens it. I'm gonna go ahead and close that there, fella. Close you two there, fella. Mini map. Oh, hell no. No. Where is it? Hide. Bro. Navigate. No. Inline. Mini map. Oh, there we go. Oh, shoot. They have... relative line numbers. I forget what this does, but it's... I'm on line 6. I don't know if I like that, because I do... No, I'll keep it. I forget why, but I know it has something to do relative to, or it has application when using Vim, and I would like to use more of those commands, so we'll just leave it on for now because I want to get used to it. Okay, so where do we be? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? So we will. I lost my place. We open the file. Okay, yeah, we're here. Moving one section to the right, you see the editor area. This is where you will add, view, and edit the code. Oh yeah, sure. On the far right is the inspector area. The inspector area provides several inspectors that allow you to get more information, such as the file inspector, which gives you information about the file's location, name, and so on. Yeah, this guy here. Yeah, that's very useful. It's very great. It's great. Although, I wonder why I don't have any. Oh, there we go. Main Swift, type of the file, the location relative to group. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolute path, baby. Actually, it's kind of ugly, but relative to project, to developer directory, to build products, to SDK. Okay, we'll just leave it absolute. Hold on, brother. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense to me. If they give us the full path anyway. Okay, then on demand, what do we got here? Target membership. That must be a Swift thing, so I don't know just yet. And then line ending text heading index. A tab is 4 spaces, indent 4 wrap lines. I don't. I did not mean to do that. Cool that you can do that, though. I'm glad to see that. Let me. Where did the. Yeah, I don't want to wrap. No wrapping. Now that wrap crap. Okay, on the far end of the inspector area. At the bottom of the Xcode window is the debug area. Down here. Which includes variable view and the console. Yeah, this is a much better layout, I must say, than the playgrounds, so that's cool. Well, at least for the kind of code they were writing, but debug area, which includes... At the top of the window is the toolbar, which has the play and stop buttons that you will use to run and stop your program, among other tools. In the project navigator on the far left side, oh wait, we did this. In a command line tool, main.swift represents the entry point of your program. Yeah, so you'll see this a lot. Like anytime that you're talking interfaces, there's always going to be an entry point. Well, really any program, but specifically when you're talking about how to render things, it's nice to know your entry point because then you know where it all starts. But we won't go down that rabbit hole. Don't get me started on React. Okay, like a playground, main.swift executes top to bottom. Okay. Wait, like a playground, main.swift executes top to bottom. That's interesting. I'm going to go ahead and weird. In a command line tool, main.swift represents the entry point of your program. Like a playground, main.swift executes top to bottom. After the last line of code in this file executes, the program is complete and exits. I like that. I'm surprised that it works like that. I wonder if that's only when you choose. Is that a setting? I would like to see. Well, we'll just keep reading, but If it doesn't tell us, we'll find out. But this is a big part of things, honestly. Understanding how to even like stand up a project, get your environment set up is so huge and has long lasting implications. So forgive me if I linger on these things, but too bad. You chose to watch. No, I'm playing, but it is important. It's an important thing, and it's something that you should get very, very good at, because the biggest, I don't want to use hyperbole here. It's very frustrating when you're trying to learn to code and you don't even know how to get your environment set up. Like a lot of times you might learn, like you might read some book or some web course that you took, you learn the syntax, right? So if you're in an environment where everything's already set up for you and, you just have something simple like a REPL, you can write some code, you can throw down some code, do a little something. But if you don't know how to set up that environment and you come across a situation where you even want to tweak something, or even, God forbid you get a new machine or something, it's very frustrating. So although it might bore you, make sure that you know very well how to set up your environment and actually get rolling, from scratch at least once, and write it, be meticulous, write down your steps. That way you don't have to, it sucks having to waste time with bullshit like linking a compiler or, making sure you got the right dependencies, blah, blah, blah. But again, something like Swift, where this is all one big ecosystem, really, really protects developers from a lot of that pain. Because a lot of what I'm saying is either from using new languages that are just not that mature yet, and they're open about that, so it's not their fault, but the tools just aren't there yet, or you might have to do some more manual work. Or I'm referring to something like, Go, before they added modules and it was all fucked up and weird the way you had to, like just that kind of stuff. It was doable, but it can be a real dream killer. I'll tell you that there, guy. Okay. So that's interesting. All right. So in relation to Go, main.swift runs top down. And what's interesting about it, just comparing that to the way that Go worked, right? It was, you still have an import, or no. So in Go, you have packages. I'm just giving you this so you can see the other side, because Go is a more closely related to like how you might start a C file, except no header files like you need in C. But so you have a package main. You always have to have a package main, and this is your entry point, like we just talked about. Swift abstracts this, so you don't have to write this, but there is still technically like a concept of that, according to the book. But yeah, so there's package main, and then you import stuff like from the formatting module, and then you have a main function like that. But below it, you can have, your variables and whatnot, and other functions and whatnot. And it's not procedural all the way down. Like you can write the variables and functions, structs, whatever, in any order in the file, and the procedural nature, like the 1, 2, 3, 4 in that sequence, is only applied in the main function. So you would just, call the function that you just described, and then you would call it against something, and then, but basically, like you write all the pieces, all the parts, and you can have separate modules, but you always have to have one main function, and it belongs in, package main. But it's just kind of interesting that that's the relationship there, and that's how it works. But maybe that it would make sense if it's only for command line programs, and maybe that's the case. Okay, I'll stop fawning over the design, and we'll just get back to it. But yeah, just so you guys know where my head is at and what like where I came from in terms of what we're looking at here. So main.swift entry point runs top to bottom in a command line tool. Potentially in more areas than that, but as far as we know, just command line tools. For example, you would create a town.swift file to hold a definition of a struct called town. Then you will create an instance of town in main.swift. Yeah. This strategy of defining each new type in its own file helps organize an application's source code, making it easier to find and debug code in large projects. Amen, brother. Notice that the main.swift file already has some code. Import foundation, print hello world. Import foundation brings the foundation framework into the main.swift file. A framework is a precompiled collection of types and functions that you can use in your program. Yeah, exactly. A framework is a precompiled. Yeah, I mean, you'll see different definitions because one of the running jokes like in web dev is the React Andes will tell you like React is not a framework, it's a library. It really doesn't matter, but I'm just saying, be aware that similar to parameters and arguments, when you're talking functions, frameworks, libraries might get kind of interchanged as well. So just be aware of that and know how to spot them. I won't go on another aside because we just did one. A framework is a precompiled collection of types and functions you can use in your program. There are frameworks published by Apple and others, Vapor, and others to give you the building blocks for programs that do anything from presenting rich user interfaces. What about middle class user interfaces? To communicate with web servers. Okay. For programs that do anything. Sure. The foundation framework is provided by Apple. The foundation framework is provided by Apple and consists of a number of classes primarily designed to do work in and with Objective-C. I don't like that. I don't care about Objective-C, brother. I'm here to learn Swift. This was one of the things, and it's actually, we'll know more when Swift 6 comes out because I'll do a video on it. But one of the things that Swift, or where Swift will differ on other programs that are not Apple. So like if I was, obviously I'm using a Mac right now, but if I was on a Linux box and wanted to write Swift, the implementation for Linux is not going to have that foundation framework with it because there's no point. That's for interops with Objective-C, which was the previous, the predecessor to Swift. But there's no need for that on other hardware. So anyway, I'm just saying it won't be the exact same implementation, so that's something that people should be aware of in the event that you are for some reason dependent on something in there. But yeah, as far as I understand it, by default, if you're running this on, if you're deving on Windows or Linux using Swift, foundation will not be there by default, which makes sense. Okay, so in the future, we will ignore this line of code unless you need it for context in the code listing or for using one of the types it provides. Okay. The print hello world code should look familiar. Logs a string hello world to the console. Build and run your program. There are several ways to do this. Oh, no more command shift enter. Okay. In the products like run, click the triangle play button, or just do command R. Building, planning deferred tasks, building 20 to 32, running Monster Town. Monster Town would like to access files on a removable volume. All right, brother. What happened? Finished running. Oh, hello world. There we go. Okay. All right. In business. When you run your program, the debug area opens if it was not open already. Hello world is logged to the console, along with information from the compiler about how the program ended. Program ended with exit code 0. When you run your program, the debug area open. Oh, wait, we already did that. That is great. But you have seen strings logged to the console before. Let's make your program more interesting by creating custom structs and classes. Before you move on, delete print hello world. You will not need it. Oh, gotcha. DD in Vim for delete line. DD. See how I did that? Yeah, you like that. DD. All right. And then I do Command Tab to bounce back. Oh yeah, brother. Okay, structures. A struct is a type that groups a set of related chunks of data together in memory. A struct is a type that groups a set of related chunks of data together in memory. You use structs when you would like to group data together under a common type. Okay, word up. Like a customer ID or like a customer record, perhaps an item ID, item number, item description, item weight, dimensions, alternative items, Perhaps it's on-hand quantity for a given warehouse represented in the system. So yeah, okay. Yeah, so very much like how I would utilize the Go structs, okay? So we use that, but still, I like that. Oops, I like that definition, brother. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that, brother. All right. In previous chapters, you modeled a town and a playground. We did. Because the example, oh yeah, we did. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Way back. I remember. Because the example was relatively small, this was not all that limiting. Playgrounds use a streamlined approach to code management to facilitate quick prototyping of code, but app development requires a more robust set of tools for code organization. It's better to encapsulate the definition of the town within its own type in its own file. Add a new file to your project using file, new file. File, new file. Do this, do that. Every day, do this, do that. When file, new file. You can also press Command N. Oh, a window like the one shown, prompts you macOS top Swift file. macOS Swift file. Cocoa UI unit says objective. This is pretty neat. Okay, so I'm also really curious because before I started this stream with you guys, and I only got my Mac, I don't know, a month before that, and clearly I have disdain for Mac OS. Like I don't like it straight up, but that doesn't mean there's not good tools built on top of Mac OS. So it's a very different thing, right? It just it's hard to escape Mac OS at large because where do apps run for the most part? Well, they run on the operating system. And who controls window management? The kernel, the operating system. Yeah, so you see what I'm saying? So it's hard to escape it, but I don't want to make it seem like I'm a guy doing a Swift stream and I just hate everything about like Apple. Like, no, that's not. I'm not trying to have an ironic existence, brother. You understand? I'm just saying. I want to clarify that. Because I don't like to be negative unless warranted. I think if something warrants criticism, let it fly, but be fair, you know. And I think if you're going to criticize, you should always have, like in any situation, if you're going to criticize, you should have an idea, not a sarcastic one, not a snarky one, a legitimate idea of how you might resolve the thing you're complaining about. Impossible as it may be, if it's a legitimate, thought out solution that you believe in, I think that's fair. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. That's just my opinion on it. Okay, anyway, so Swift file, new file, you can also press Command N, select problems, and then next. Okay, what you want me to name it, brother? Next. Yep. Call the file town. Okay. I need to stop using my mouse. Why am I using my mouse? Town. I'm not going to tag this one, but I'm trying to remember to use them. That is one nice thing about macOS that Windows doesn't have. Tags. Tags are great. Okay, so next, yes. Make sure the box is checked to add it to Monster Town. Oh, to add it to the project. Yeah, okay, I like that. So that's interesting. So, okay, so just from what I'm looking at now, there's this concept of groups of files that can exist within the confines of what Swift defines as a project. So the project would be the top level, and in theory would be where your, like, that would be the same level where you would run git init, you know, and that's where you would manage, you know, at that level, because that's at the top level, the project. But then they also have this concept of groups that can exist, and I don't know that is it only, I mean, obviously this one is based on a directory or a folder, but yeah, I wonder if it's purely cosmetic. I guess we'll find out. All right, so then we want to add it to that, so create. All right, brother, we did it. Town Swift. Your new file opens automatically if it does not select town.swift in the project navigator. It is nearly blank, just the comments at the top, and import foundation lines. Start declaring your town struct. All right, brother. What are you doing? That's annoying. When I tab over, just fucking... Okay, yeah. That's why I wanted to learn the shortcuts, because I guess my cursor was on one of the tabs or whatever, so I can't just start typing, which is annoying. Anyway, struct town. Okay, so start. How do I close that? I don't want to see all that stuff constantly. All right, import struct. Oh, why is it so laggy? Town. I'm trying not to. I get so frustrated when shit costs $3,000 and then fucking stutters typing in the name of one fucking struct. I haven't even finished writing it. Nothing else is fucking running on this thing other than some very cheap background apps. Look at where is it? I have 6.7475 gigs of free memory. SSD isn't even a quarter full. So even if you needed to swap, I mean, I'm just saying. All this fucking hype, M2 Pro chip, this. Okay, great. Can the editor not stutter when I'm writing one fucking struct? But I digress. Yeah, I'm not going to believe all those people that said Xcode is dookie. I think it has a lot of good features. Let's just carry on. It happened. Let's move on. All right? Great. The keyword struct signals that you are declaring a struct. In this case, named town. You will add code between the braces. Yes. To define the behavior of this struct. For example, you are about to add. Wait. 1 sec. I wanted to get this thing the fuck out of the way, brother. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Out of the way. Instead, this will just be a stream about me slowly becoming unhinged as my faith in technology wanes. God damn it, this piece of... Oh my gosh. All right. So, I'd rather sleep on fucking glass. All right, now, the keyword struct signals that you are declaring a... I forgot what I was going to do real quick. I wanted to highlight... Oh, I did. Okay. The keyword struct signals that you are declaring a struct, in this case, named town. You add code between the braces to define behavior of the struct. For example, you're about to add variables to your new struct so that it can hold onto some data that will help model the characteristics of your town. Technically, these variables are called properties. Technically and expectantly. These variables are called properties, which is the subject of chapter 16. Properties can be variable or constant. Properties can be variable or constant. Using the var and let keywords you've seen before. Okay, so this is not necessarily like... Well, no, I guess it is actually. Yeah, because it would be... Oh, yeah, never mind. No, it is. Yeah. Add some properties to your struct. Yeah, this is good stuff here. Var. So within a structure of a town, conceptually, 5, and then under bars for the comma. So that's 5,422. I hate that, by the way. I hate that. Hate it. No, I really don't like it. Number of stoplights. Number of stoplights. No, but honestly, the reason I like to... it doesn't matter. Actually, it doesn't matter, but... because I can just show you guys some of the time. This fucking camel case stuff, brother. Stoplights is equal to 4. All right? Wow, that's an interesting town. Here you add 2 properties to town. Population and number of stoplights. Both of these properties are mutable because they're vars. This makes sense because the town's population and number of stoplights are likely to change over time. These properties also have default values for the sake of simplicity. When a new instance of the town struct is made, it will default to having a population of 5,422 and 4 stoplights. Switch to your main.swift file and create a new instance of town to see your struct in action. As always, do not break the string in your code. Do not break the string in your code. The hell does that mean, brother? Talking about Control Tab. Come on, bro. How do you fucking switch tabs? So navigate. Move focus to... Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's a big one. Control J. Mr. J. Control J. Move focus to next editor. Command tilde. It's not tilde. Command backtick. Move focus to next area. area versus editor. I guess the area is a pane, what Sublime would call a pane. Brother. Okay, so command, wait, option command. What, bro? Okay, hold on, wait. So you're telling me if I do command option tick, nothing's happening. Oh, that one. Command option tick. I guess I need to add a proper. Okay, so now this should command option. Nothing's happening. What about control? Okay. Fuck. I wish it was just command and then the number, because, but that's obviously not it. God damn it. All right, how do I get, this will be worth it if we just learn it now, so we can move focus to next editor, move focus to editor. Command or control, yeah. Why doesn't that work? Oh, this works. Okay, so, okay. That's easy enough. Yeah, but you know what? So I just changed my mind. If that's how you do that, then I want to switch these buttons. Oh yeah, brother. Oh yes, oh yes. Okay, and now, ooh, and you know, I can, yeah, I can, what's it called? Set the mouse. So at least if I do go to the mouse, then the wheel can help me. Yeah, it's already set that way. Navigate between tabs. Okay, but it's dookie. I mean, it doesn't work. So, okay, then. So to scroll up, what I really need is this. So now that'll send me to the next editor, and then for this one I should do, I wish I knew what area meant. Move focus to next area. Command, wait, option command. Does it matter what option command that thingy? Option command that thingy. Oh, so it just matters relative to where. But that's, oh, okay, no, that's cool, because command shift or option command, right? Option command tilde. Yeah, and then I can hold shift on the mouse if I need to go the other direction. Okay. Option command, yeah. Okay, so so down will be option command tilde. or whatever, backtick, not tilde. Nice, brother. All right, and then switch apps, gestures. Oh yeah, brother. Hey, brother. You have another brother. Pow. And I think we'll make this space bar instead of the middle button. And hey, sister, did you find your mister? Sister, I don't know what I'm saying. And we'll make this. This should be tab, if anything. You feel me? Yeah. Space, tab, emoji menu. Clearly you need that. Gestures. Let's go ahead and switch these over here, brother, because I don't. Well, how often am I using emojis? Nah, this is actually pretty solid, if I do say so myself. Oh, by the way, if anybody sees this, down, up, down, up. No. So I told you guys, these are really helpful for me, so I'm going to show you this tool real quick. No affiliation again, but I told you guys about this app I'm using called Synergy. Of course, on macOS, it doesn't want to pop up. There it is. Okay. So, see this little thingamajig here? This square represents the Mac that you're looking at, the screen you're looking at. And you see that little icon, the keyboard and the mouse, means that my primary, like my inputs, my keyboard and mouse that I'm using are plugged into my Mac, which is why the Logitech is able to see it directly. However, this little square on the left, Lenico, that's my Windows machine, which is actually the machine where my webcam, the mic, and it's the machine streaming right now. And since, it's set up left to right, if I go left, you see my cursor disappear because it's going to the Windows machine. And it's seamless. I mean, literally seamless. And the reason I'm telling you is that, well, first of all, it's extremely useful. Second of all, there is like if you want, like in my case, obviously Mac, Windows are different for keyboards. So if I want to use, since I have my keyboard plugged into my Mac, I can elect this. It's not showing it because I already did, but if I wanted to switch it, I go to the Windows options here. I can say use this keyboard and mouse if I wanted to plug in my accessories direct to the Windows machine and then have it, through software, translate that to Mac OS. So you can go either direction. And the reason it matters is, just to give you a quick example, like I like to go through my Mac as the primary and not the other direction, because if I go the other direction, it will work on the Mac just fine. So if everything was connected to Windows and I was controlling my Mac, it would work just fine. But other apps that look for the cursor, so for example, Sidecar, like if you have an iPad, like I got my iPad Pro, if I want to be able to seamlessly move, like just like this app is allowing for, right? Apple has a native implementation that lets you just auto detect if you're on the same iCloud account and network. You can auto detect your other devices and it can instantly become, like in the case of an iPad Pro, it can instantly become a secondary monitor through macOS. And you can do that by just moving the cursor over in the same fashion. But that only works if macOS detects that there is a mouse connected to it directly, via Bluetooth or plugged in. or the trackpad. But when you do it through software, like through emulation or whatever you want to call it, virtualization, then it doesn't pick it up. You see? But it's really on both sides. I'll show you this and then we'll get back to it. In the preferences, if you go to modifier keys, you can set up your translation. So like the way that it works best for me, control, when I send control, the control key from a Mac to Windows, I want it to interpret it as super, which would be the Windows key. Alt is alt, so that's direct. And then for the super, like if I send super from Mac OS, which would be the command key, if I send super, I want Windows to interpret it as the control key. And so what does that let me do? That just means I can do, the same key on both machines is just control C. Well, on this keyboard, the button says control. On Mac, it sends a command, CMD. But if I do the same action, same physical action, hold that key, press C, on Windows, it interprets it as control C. So it's really nice. So this is an awesome app, and you can see this little Linux box down here. It's not on right now. That's why it's grayed out, all lonely down here, look pathetic. But you can even, attach, I'm not going to do it, I don't want to mess it up, but you can attach it, and then you could have a Mac OS, a Windows, and a Linux box. That's how I worked on a daily basis for a long time. And you can literally just seamlessly, same cursor, one keyboard, one mouse, just moving across, when you have a screen here, screen there. And you have no idea how long I searched for this. I was using probably the closest thing that I got, and this is the reason I brought it up because we just looked at it. The closest that ever, or the closest I got to achieving this kind of seamless control, and I would say it really wasn't even close. I mean, I'm showing you this app because it's incredible. I think it was only $40 or something lifetime, and there's like you don't have to update, but you can keep using your version, so there's not even a lock-in. So it's great. But yeah, the only thing that really came close was the Logitech Flow, if you're familiar. So let me go back into the options. So I am using the MX mouse. I really like it. It's a great mouse. I'm sure you heard of it, because it's been around for a hot minute. It's still great. It's awesome, But I don't use a Logitech keyboard. I use the Kinesis because, my wrists were getting all fucked up. So I had to take the hit, pay $400 for a keyboard, learn columnar keys, go from 120 words a minute to like 18 my first day when I got, was using the Kinesis, because I figured the only way to do this is cold turkey. So I struggled. Boy, did I struggle. Now I'm pretty much back to where I was on a QWERTY keyboard, but it's so different. But yeah, these are amazing because honestly, like $400 for a keyboard sounds ridiculous, but it's a lifetime warranty. It absolutely solved my issues. Really only my right wrist, because I was doing most of the movement, I guess. But yeah, no, it fixed it. The pain is gone now, so I'm eternally grateful. Don't waste your money on cheaper alternatives. Just my recommendation. These guys are great, so just pick a Kinesis one and go with it. But the upside is every single key on this keyboard, with the exception of, I think, just 2 of them, literally everything else you can map and make it whatever you want. Like literally whatever you want. And you can set up macros on it. It has multi-layering, so you can have like a modifier button where, like all the buttons have whatever functionality you assign them. And then even beneath that, if you hold that modifier key, now you're technically on a different layer where every button can have now a secondary function or run a macro. So it's a great investment. I love it. But yeah, so the fact that I can move the buttons around in any way I want, and I mean, I basically had to get it because of my wrist pain. It kind of eliminates this as an option, this being Flow in Logitech, only because, I mean, it works great, although it's still not as seamless. Like whenever you connect, it works in the same fashion where you just, you arrange the screens, right? Like you see here. You just install Logitech options on both, you turn on Flow. But the thing is, if you want to use, keyboard and mouse, they have to be Logitech. It has to be a Logitech keyboard and mouse. And they don't make a ergonomic keyboard like I needed. Otherwise, I probably would have just done that. It would have been easier. So I'm just telling you that because this offers similar functionality. I would say although it's not as good, it is free. So that's the thing. So if you already have, and more than likely most people probably do have the pair, a Logitech keyboard and a Logitech mouse, that's a big upside, and it's nice and it works. So I'm just telling you that. Now, whenever you use Flow, like whenever you hit the edge, it detects it, and it does this kind of like, and then it like hops over. So it's not exactly seamless, not ultra fast, but if you're not switching a ton, it's not bad at all. I mean, my machines, I can't tell you what it's like on Wi-Fi because my machines are always, plugged in via Ethernet, so I can only speak to that kind of performance. But I would say the connection between, going left to right when swapping machines probably takes a second and a half. It's annoying. There's a jitter. And it can be kind of annoying because you have to elect a side. Like you would pick the bottom, top, right, or left. It doesn't matter where the other machine is necessarily, but you have to pick a corner or a side of your current screen real estate that you want to drag your cursor to that would trigger Flow connecting to the other machine. See what I mean? And so it's nice that you can pick, but either way, now suddenly you have this sensitive area where if you accidentally, throw your cursor at that particular side, now it's going to hop over to the machine. And then after you connect to the other machine, you have to wait maybe, a second or two before it'll register going back the other way. So there's some things to be improved. Maybe it's gotten better. It's been a hot minute since I used it, maybe about a year. So I'm sure it probably has gotten better. At least I would like to think so, but I'm just making you aware of it there, guy and gal. Okay. Now, so I would say this would be the second best option that I experience. The only other thing this I would say is like, let's just call it half the quality, half the user experience. So if Synergy gets a score of 90 out of 100, Logitech Flow I'll give it a 57. It's functional, but plenty of room for improvement. Then there was the KVM switch I tried. The KVM switch is, it's a physical device, so you literally plug everything into like your keyboard, your mouse, whatever, into a box, little just piece of machinery. They come in different sizes, different ports, different I/O, but let's just assume it's just a, mouse, keyboard. And then on the back side of it, you have HDMI switches. So you can either have it plugged up to the same monitor, like let's say you just want to literally use one monitor but flip between machines. I bought the top of the line one I could find on Amazon, and it was still, the most souped up cables you could get, everything. It was a MacBook Pro and a Lenovo Legion Windows, so these are powerful machines, and even still that KVM switch took a solid, it took anywhere from 2.5 to even 6 seconds each time I would switch between inputs, because, it has to, suddenly you're telling the other machine like, hey, now you're connected to all of these peripherals, and then it has to load that up. So that wasn't great. So then I made it to where, okay, I'll just have instead 2 separate monitors, so you don't have to wait for the, my assumption was the rendering of the screen, the HDMI input was the thing taking the most time. So if I just go ahead and set them up both on separate displays, but still send both the keyboard and the mouse to the KVM switch, Then when I switch, all I'm doing is switching the two devices, but always can see the display for each machine. That was quicker, but it was still about the same time. I wanted it to be, I wanted it to be instant. And the problem is you also need you either have to use a remote to switch, to trigger the switch, press a button on the device itself, which can be annoying because you have all these cables plugged in. So if you're going to have it close enough to push that button, that can be a challenge. And it's not great because now you're still coming off the keyboard, which is not the point. Last thing you want to do is, it's already a complaint. Like, you want to limit how much you reach for your mouse. Right now you're reaching for another thing. So that kind of sucks. Now you can get like a foot switch, like a little foot pedal. Some of them come with it. Some have like a particular like port for those. Not great. Now the best one that I found, the one that I tried, it let you define a particular like key sequence, a hotkey, if you will. I did like, what did I do? I think I did a triple alt. So if I just triple tapped alt, it would recognize that input and accept that as the trigger to do the switch. But even with that, it was still just slower. And that was the fact that it's another piece of hardware requires that you buy more cables and still doesn't give you that performance. I'm going to go ahead and call that the worst of them, although it's alluring and you'll hear it recommended. That's why I came across the idea, but fucking Reddit. But yeah, I wouldn't do that either. I would just look at this sim list. I think it's great. And I'm a person that uses almost on a daily basis Linux, macOS, and Windows, and it works on all of them and can connect them all seamlessly. It's great. All right, so now I've done wore myself out. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. Let's just call today a look at tooling, a focus on tooling. Now, I will warn you, the next time we start, we are going to finish out learning these, but I need to use the restroom again. My stomach is not behaving today. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Wrapping up episode 21. Thanks for everyone. Yeah, thanks for everyone. Just everyone in general. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Make sure you follow. Let me put up my handles so you can follow the gaming stream. Make sure you check me out. If you love Halo, or if you just love me, or if you just need something to do later. Every day, 9 p.m. CST. For 2-3 hours, I go at it and sweat hard and try to entertain you guys playing Halo. I am on day 48, I believe, of 100 Days of Ranked. Make sure you check me out. Love you guys, and I will see. Well, I don't even know who you are. It's weird, bro. I'll see you guys tomorrow.